What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about HBAR in this video, Hedera hash graph. But we got a special little addition in this video that I'd like to throw in there as well for anybody and everybody who's looking to maybe diversify their portfolio, add to a project that is Hedera affiliated. There's a project called Swarm, which I'm sure a lot of you are aware of. SMT is the token. We're going to go over that here in a second. But why this partnership, this coupling of these two working together on the Hedera ecosystem will allow for real world assets and stocks to be traded more effectively, right? Hedera is one of the top DeFi protocols, and one of the biggest issues of DeFi protocols is to have real time, instantaneous settlements of real world transactions, right? Even in the real world, we have that issue. Most of the time, real world assets are not settled instantly. Well, maybe not most of the time, but for certain things, they are settled in form of like a debit, where you make the transaction this day, but the product or the payment or the whatever it is isn't actually placed in your account until a couple days later. But this is all stuff that you guys are probably very familiar with. If I'm not wording it properly, don't worry. We're gonna get into the charts and stuff in a second. But I want to show you guys. I want to show you this little clip here, okay? And I'll give you my thoughts on it, but I just think that this is interesting, right? Just before we get into it, Swarm is enabling stocks on Hedera, which is great, This woman here, Katie Evans, she's talking about Hedera being the first to have that, which I think is going to implement a lot of growth for Hedera. You guys, this crazy stuff is going to happen, okay? But how will we manage instant redemptions when traditional markets only settle 2 days later? And what they're talking about here, you'll see. I'll explain it, but let's just roll the clip. I'm going to mute my mic. You guys won't hear me, but I'm going to play it.
Going back to that notion that both Hedera and Swarm are in this hybrid community base where we need to settle the satisfaction of what Web3 natives are used to, which is instant settlement and being able to move assets around so easily, but coupled with what happens in traditional markets, which is obviously T+1, T+2 structures. So I think.
So what she's saying there, for those of you guys that don't know, when she says T+1, T+2, all that means is T being the transaction, right? The day that the transaction happens, your transaction happens on this day. T+1 means it doesn't settle. The transaction goes through, it's happened, but it doesn't settle, or in like a sense it's debited, right? It doesn't settle until a day later, or T+2 2 days later, which is pretty standard in the business world, in the stock world. That's pretty standard. But whenever and what she's addressing here is that's the key challenge whenever it comes to DeFi, is if you're trying to implement real world assets and stocks and stuff like that, it can't be through a decentralized fashion. You can't have a day or two that it takes for this stuff to settle. It has to be like that. It has to be instantaneous, right? And they're going to be able to do that. Swarm, this is about Swarm, but they're only going to be able to do that with Hedera's technology, which is big. And this kind of relationship together could be big, I think, for both of these projects. We're going to talk about Swarm at the end of this video because it's got such a low market cap, man. This could really be huge, but I'm going to keep playing it. Okay, hold on.
This redemption pool piece really provides an innovation in the space of how we're managing the expectations on both sides. And Hedera will be the first to implement that, which I think is a really cool thing to brag about. But secondly, that instant redemption piece also becomes particularly important when we start to look at things further down, like lending and borrowing, for example. And we need to have the ability to have instant redemptions.
So you heard it, right? You heard it, right? And if that's not a big deal to you, let me just piece this together. So they're not just talking about settlements for stocks. They're talking about the true aspect of DeFi. One of the most fundamental, I think, aspects of DeFi, which is settlement of lending and borrowing whenever it comes to this protocol, which will be settled instantaneously through the Hedera ecosystem. That's essential, right? Whenever somebody's borrowing whatever it is through crypto, through decentralized means, there needs to be the ability whenever things are, let's say, going south and they need to be liquidated so that the chain or the provider, the lender, doesn't lose out on this transaction. They need to be able to liquidate that immediately. It can't be some kind of transaction that takes place, because if you liquidate immediately, if you don't liquidate immediately, that's the difference between maybe a coin dropping 1% or 10% or 20% in a day or 2 days if it takes time, right? It's important. And these are big things, right? Beyond just stocks, which is, I think, very essential. The actual aspect of lending and borrowing is just insane. I think there's some really interesting things going on with HBAR, you guys. Interesting things. Why didn't anybody tell me about this sooner? Here I am telling you about it, though. All right, in case you're not aware. Crazy stuff. We're going to talk about Swarm at the end of this. I've got both these charts pulled up. And I mean, just look at Swarm, man. Just such a discounted opportunity. HBAR here at a $10 billion market cap, $200 million in volume. That's decent. You know, that's not anything too crazy, but it's decent volume. We've been pretty boring since July. You know, you don't need to have a lot of volume when you're being boring. You need it when you're moving up, and you're going to get that when you move up. Let's talk about the TA. Let's get into this, and then we'll wrap this video up talking about Swarm, okay? I don't know everything about Swarm. I've heard of it before. I've just never done my research on it. I'm probably going to start doing some research on it, and if we look at Swarm here, it's got a very low market cap of $10 million. So anybody interested in HBAR, you got the symbiotic relationship going on between Swarm and HBAR. What's good for HBAR is good for Swarm, likely, and what's good for Swarm will be good for HBAR as well, but maybe to a lesser degree. But anyways, 23.8 cents. I mean, maybe to a bigger degree. It depends on how big Swarm becomes. Anyways, 23.8 cents right now. 5 days, 3 hours left in this week here. We definitely started off the week to the downside. We're coming back up. It's looking nice. I love starting the week off to a downside because typically your green weeks have wicks on them, which means that you started off the week to the downside and then you came up, right? Not always. 1, 2, 3, 4 green weeks here. Only one of them did not have wicks, but still, most of the time you do have a wick to the downside. It's like a superstition. It's not a requirement. It's just a superstition. Right now, this superstition looks to be proven valid. So that's nice to see. The 1 hour time frame here. If we're zooming in, we're zooming way the hell in. The 1 hour RSI looks fantastic. It looks fantastic. The stochastics look great as well, and the MACD is crossing above the zero. All good things, all at once. We love to see it. Very positive stuff going on. The 4 hour time frame here, you're getting overbought consistently. You're not getting oversold at all. We love to see it. You're actually bouncing off the oversold area, the area that you bounced from last time, and now you're back above the 50. You look really good on your 4 hour RSI, which I think is the most important indicator here. Your stochastics agree that you want to keep going higher, and the MACD, while you are crossed below the zero a little bit, you're basically looking like you want to scoop the zero. So I think you're going to find support here and move up. You look good. You look really, really good. I think on the 1 hour and the 4 hour, you look good all across the board. It's nice to see. Low to high here, bouncing right off the 0.5 back above the 382. Once you close the 4 hour time frame above 24.4 cents, 24.38 cents, when you close the 4 hour time frame above there, you're basically golden to prices that are above this high here, which is at 25.5 cents, and you'll be moving up. If we look at this on the daily time frame here, that's pretty important, moving above this high, because that will be your first higher high, and you'll have a higher low. You'll have a higher high and a higher low, which is a big deal, right? We've had a higher low, but we had lower highs. We haven't had a high and a higher high with a low and a higher low, I mean, since back here, since July. You will officially be breaking out of this downtrend, right? You've broken out of it from a line perspective, but you still are in a downtrend. This is where a lot of people go wrong with this stuff, right? And this is why a lot of people, if you're trading based off of this, you might find yourself in trouble more often than you find yourself in success. And that's because just because you break out of a diagonal line doesn't mean that you're breaking the trend, right? The trend is not broken. A downtrend is defined as lower highs and lower lows. This is not a downtrend. I mean, clearly it's trending down, but you still have the lower high. That's why, again, why I'm focusing on this. It's a big deal to get above this high, to break above this high, because at that point you validate that your low is in. We already believe the low is in. I think the low is in for HBAR. I'm very confident in saying that. I think this is a good look. It's what they call a break, hook, and go, or a bump and run, whatever you want to call it, right? You break, you hook, and then you go. You bump it, and then you run. That's kind of how it's coined, how it's termed. I really do think that this is a bullish setup. You're finding support here. If we look at it on a horizontal level, I don't like diagonal lines as much as horizontal lines. The horizontal line lies to you a lot less often. You're finding support here where you found support before, resistance before. You see how significant, much more significant this line is rather than this line here. It's a lot more significant, and you're going to get significant results. We break above this high, you're home free, right? The perspective shift for people who are, I don't want to say educated in the matter, people who are aware of how technical analysis works, it's pretty clear as to what path HBAR is on right now. You're not going below these lows. But for the average participant who's just guessing or shooting in the dark, they're taking a guess here and there, they might not know so much about technical analysis. The perspective here is, you know, it's at a low price since it's high in July, but I'm not sure if I want to buy yet, right? What if it goes lower? When you move up above this high, when you get above this high, first off, you're going to move up very fast and get to this next area of about 27 cents or beyond. The perspective shifts from here of, I don't know, maybe we'll wait, we'll see if it goes lower, to, oh my goodness, it's going higher. We're breaking out of this range. We're clearly going higher now. The perspective is going to shift like that, and that's going to cause, I think, a cascade of events for HBAR here. If we're looking at this on, let's see, come on now. Looking at this on the daily RSI, things look very bullish. You're not getting oversold. You're getting overbought. We love to see it. All good things. Stochastics bouncing off of the 50 area, even a little bit above the 50, looking good. And the MACD coming up to cross above the 0. We love to see that as well. So phenomenal things across all fronts. Love it on the daily time frame, the weekly time frame, the monthly, or the 4 hour, the 1 hour. It all looks good. The monthly looks good too, though. Weekly time frame, of course, very bullish, bouncing off the 50, bouncing off the 50. You're touching tips here on the MACD, and that's exactly what you want to see. The last time we did that was a very bullish result right there. Typically, when you're trending, you get this tip touching behavior or slight crossing behavior, and then you run, right? I always think that's such a funny term, touching tips. We're touching tips. That sounded naughty. I don't mean it that way though. It's just literally the tips of these oscillators are, anyway. So looking at this here from a high to a low. Get your minds out of the gutter. High to low. The expectation here would be, since the 886, 786 is right here, and back in July, that's where we found resistance. The expectation would be exactly what I was saying, which is that when we get above this high, it's go time. You're going to new highs. You're going to new all-time highs altogether. You're not stopping until you're above $1.21 HBAR. You're at 23 cents now. I really wouldn't be surprised in the least if by the end of October or sometime in early November at this point, you see about a 5x move to $1.20 or more. Or more. Maybe as high as $1.80, just below $2, $1.90, something like that. You could really see that. Those targets, if they're not achieved by the end of October, November, then later in the year, and then going into the end of the year of 2025 and the beginning of 2026, I very much anticipate that HBAR will see dramatically higher prices. Being at a $10 billion market cap, I think HBAR has, because what, 10x would put you at 100 billion, 100x would put you at $1 trillion. I don't think HBAR will see a $1 trillion market cap this cycle. I don't think it'll see 100x, but I do think it has the capabilities of seeing, like a 30x, a 40x, an 80x, crazy multi-$100 billion valuations, crazy growth in a very short amount of time. So by the end of the cycle, wouldn't be surprised at all if we were at $6.62, $10, nice psychological level for resistance. Maybe we even go all the way up to $20. It's quite possible, and that would be insane. You'd be just below $1 trillion, but it's absolutely possible, especially for something like this, especially if you do become the first one in the space for the instant settlement of real-world assets, you guys. That would be, and there's probably other projects like Stellar and XRP that are not far behind. I mean, XRP is right there with XRP Ledger, and then Stellar's probably working on some stuff too, and they got some big announcements coming up. There's competition all throughout the space, but just understand, big things here as far as growth goes are very, very possible. I wouldn't be surprised in the least if you saw prices at a minimum by the end of the cycle at 662 or higher. 662 or higher by the end of the cycle, maybe around $10, something like that. Okay, let's talk about SMT. Let's talk about Swarm, and then we'll wrap this up. Okay, Swarm. Again, I don't know every little detail about Swarm. It's the first time that I've really given this thing. I've talked about it before. We've done analysis on it before, but it's been a long time since we have. I've never done fundamental analysis on it. You can see here that the circulating supply is 83.9. Let's just call it 84 million tokens. The total supply is 157. So it's about 50% of that supply needs to be unlocked still. I don't know anything about the tokenomics. You should probably read about that, actually. Let's do this real quick. I don't want to read the website. Let's just go to the white paper. And then we'll look up the tokenomics, and then we'll move on to the TA. First off, I can tell you, though, even with the tokenomics, nobody's going to release the rest of their supply by the end of the bull market. It's probably going to be at a steady pace, right? And I can also tell you that this thing, from a high in March of 2024 to here to this low in June, 98% drop. That's massive. You guys, there's massive potential. We're down still 91%. You understand what that means? A 90% drop or more just to get back to your all-time high, just to get to your all-time high, not to pass it, but just to get back to it. That provides a 10x or more. right? We're talking about an 11x, almost a 12x there at your all-time high. And this thing will likely go to new all-time highs by the end of the cycle. You're at a $10.4 million market cap. You have a lot of growth to go. This, by the way, I only found this after finding it on the Hedera X page, right? Hedera posted this on the 12th. They're the ones that reposted this, right? It's not just Swarm's not just talking about this. Hedera is promoting it and clearly showing support for Swarm, which is pretty big when you have a market cap that's literally 99% less than what HBAR's market cap is. That's pretty cool, I think. Let's see, token. Is this the tokenomics SMT? Let's see, rewards. Yes. Oh wow, and Polygon. Okay, liquidity providers, Ethereum, Polygon base. That's interesting. Okay, let's see. And maybe things are changing too. I don't know, but let's see. Rewards pool 50 up to 50% of supply. Okay, so it's the rewards pool. That's great. Okay, cool, perfect. That's actually great to know that most of it comes through the rewards pool. If we're looking at the what's it called, the release dates here, year 1, year 2. Well, Swarm came out in December of 2023, so this will be its second year this December. So we are right here, all the way over here in this kind of time frame, right? Just slowly but steadily. You're going to be unlocking. Your next unlock looks like it's coming on what week? What would that be? Week 103. So at the end of this year, that'd be when your next unlock's happening. Maybe we're going through one right now. Actually, like right here, and then just nothing too crazy though. Nothing large, right? Awesome. It's going to be continuing for 2 more years after this, right? Year 3 is end of 2026. Year 4 is end of 2027. So there are a lot of unlocks that are left to have, but by the end of the cycle, I don't think it's going to upset the price too much. Maybe by the time it's the end of the cycle, instead of there being 85 or 84 million, there will be like 100 million or something like that, which is a pretty solid amount of inflation, don't get me wrong. But in the midst of all this growth, if this market cap sees like 100x, that puts you at a $10 billion market cap. Maybe the price, instead of seeing 100x, sees like a 90x in that same kind of consequence, or in that same kind of growth. So that's really not that big of a deal. I'm just roughly estimating there. Maybe it's like an 80x, but still immense growth. I forget. I'm not going to do the math on it right now, but 12.4 cents here, okay? 12.4 cents now. I very much believe that this thing could see not just 100x in the market cap, regardless of the token unlocks, but 100x in the price, absolutely. Because a $10 billion market cap is 100x. You could see a 20 billion or a 30 billion. HBAR is at 10 billion now, but it'll be worth hundreds of billions by the end of the cycle. This thing could get a little slice of that for sure. And with its current price, if we look at this from an overall high here to a low, from its current valuation, I mean, your minimum target's $4.30. That's about a 35x. $17 is the golden ratio. That's 137x. I very, very much believe you could see that. You could see a lot higher than that, absolutely. Could you see 1,000x? No, maybe, but probably not, right? Let me think here. Am I doing this right? 100 million. Oh my goodness, I'm not doing it right. My bad, guys. I did the math wrong. A 100x. Oh, it's not 10 billion. It's $1 billion. A 100x is $1 billion. Wow. See, I thought I was missing something there. I thought something didn't sound right. Which means a 1,000x is a $10 billion market cap. I don't think you'll see a 1,000x between now and the end of the cycle. That's too much growth in too little of time. I don't think that happens, but man, you got a lot of potential. 17, you could see $100 by the end of the cycle, absolutely. You really could. That's less than a $10 billion valuation. Crazy things, you guys. I'm not saying that you do that. I'm not saying that's what happens. I'm just saying Swarm, I want to do more research on it. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor. Do your own research. Make sure you understand the fundamentals before you invest in it. But it definitely has my attention. It has HBAR's attention, and it's something that we'll probably talk about more if I like it, if I do the research and I like it. But something big's happening here. I wouldn't be surprised in the least if we saw some phenomenal growth take place between now and the end of October and the end of the year. If I had to guess where it's going to go by the end of October, I would really think that you have a solid chance of seeing something right around your all-time high areas. if not at new all-time highs. And by the end of the year, you should be, I mean, dude, you could be at $4.30 or higher. Anyways, I got nothing else for you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Do your own research, okay? Don't just buy things because YouTubers tell you, oh, wow, this is cool. It could do this. Do your own research, okay? Bye-bye.